If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. Who among us can say that we have lived a life that's completely pain-free? I can't say that, and I doubt that you can either. Every one of us has some sort of ideal in our world, in our minds, that we'd like to see come to fruition. We have different preferences regarding our relationships or events and experiences that we have. But there are simply going to be times when those ideals are not met, and in fact, not only are those ideals missed, but sometimes great disappointment can come into our lives as the non-ideal way of life becomes very severe and very persistent, or sometimes both. But if we look at it correctly, pain can become a teacher. Pain can be something that grabs our attention and says, you've got to figure out some coping strategies here. And if we manage it well, then we can actually go deeper and deeper into the maturing process. Now, with narcissists, that doesn't happen. Now, I'm going to give them a certain amount of, leeway, if you will. Many times the pain that we experience in the psychological pain that we experience in our lives begins at a very early age. And certainly that can be said for that narcissistic individual. In their adult years, they illustrate that they don't know how to manage strain and tension and conflict well. And inevitably that began at a very early time, and habits began to form on the inside because they were too young to know what to do with it. And as a result, the pain can continue to push on, and they don't have good coping skills. And so by the time they come into their adult years and engage with you, they're carrying all of this pain on the inside, but instead of managing it well, they inflict it upon you. One of the descriptors that we can use for narcissists is that they're like a pain virus. They're infected from the inside out, but because they don't know how to heal from their own pain, they do all sorts of things to keep it alive, unfortunately. And then when they come into your presence, you become infected. So it's going to be so important for you to understand what their poor management of pain has done to them, so that you don't get pulled into the same kinds of patterns, and you can actually be someone who can say, well, I'm going to learn from pain, and I'm going to cause it to be something that is a part of my growth. Now, among the things that narcissists do that are part of their poor management strategies, let's go through a bunch of them. First, we can say many times narcissists will just go to the place of saying, I'm going to ignore my pain. I don't want to have to deal with it. It's too much. And so they will kind of take the notion that says, I'm fine. Don't ask me about what hurts because I'm not going to talk about it. And so they can go into a denial mode. They don't say, no, stuff like that doesn't bother me. Another way that they mismanage their pain is they can complain about the things that make them hurt, and then they go straight into the blame shifting mode. It's like, if I'm miserable, then you people out in front of me, you did it to me. And as a result, they hold on to anger and they hold on to bitterness. And instead of saying, let me figure out what I'm going to do with this, they develop a very judgmental and critical attitude towards other individuals. And it becomes very much the way that they engage with the world in general. Another way that they respond to pain is they seek affirmation. And we all want that, but it's not that they just seek affirmation. They require affirmation because they have felt disappointment and hurt in their own personal world. It's like they think, well, if I can get you to tell me that I'm really good, then that becomes my shield against having to deal with pain. And so they want to be the center of attention in the sense that they want you to say nothing but wonderful things about them, because they're trying to get away from the thought that says sometimes the world doesn't play out very well, but everybody loves me, so I'm fine. Another way that they tend to mismanage their pain is and this is very common, they can gravitate towards addictive behaviors. Those of you who are in the recovery world, you know that narcissism often leads to a mindset that says, I'll take anything out there that's going to make me feel good in here, even if it's a temporary fix. And so they're very inclined towards alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and other kinds of addictions. And it's their way of saying, I've got to have something that's going to numb me. And then taking it a little bit further, they can also be very inclined towards self-indulgent kind of behavior. And when I say that, let's say it's materialism, or they're constantly just coming up with things in their schedule that's for me and me alone, and I don't care what it does to anybody else. They can have a notion that says, if I can just have nothing but beautiful experiences, then that reminds me that everything's wonderful. And it's their way of trying to run away from some of the hard realities of life there. Another way that they mismanage pain is they will use people and then discard them when they're finished with them. It's like, well, you can make me feel better and you can remind me that everything is actually wonderful, but then when I've used you up, see you later, I'm going to go on to somebody else that I can use. And so they don't keep commitments because you might just be nothing more than a tool that helps them run away from the things in life that they don't want to have to deal with. Another way that they mismanage pain is they will punish people with their own attitudes of contempt and vengeance. Narcissists on the inside are very venge mindset kind of individuals. This is why they're so controlling and harsh and devious and manipulative. It's like, you owe me. I need you to be what I say you need to be so that I can finally be okay with myself. And if you don't give me what I want, then you're going to pay. And so they tend to hold on to grudges. They have such a tight agenda as to how you're supposed to relieve them of their strain and stress that when you don't come through for them, then all they do is they just say, well, then you're going to pay, as opposed to saying, I need to take a look at what's inside me. And then another way that narcissists will mismanage pain is they will go into what we call displacement. This person over here has done something to make me feel angry, but instead of dealing with it with that person straight up, I'm just going to unload it on you. You'll do. And so they take their frustrations, their hurt and pain out on other individuals who don't really have a whole lot to do with the generation of their pain, but that's just their way of trying to manage it. So you can see that narcissists, with all of their hurt and with all of their missed ideals, have developed an attitude that says, life owes me. The world in front of me owes me, and that includes you. And so rather than saying life has not always given me what I want, I need to think about how I can manage that well, they become this entitled, this controlling, this need for superior kind of person that we all talk about when we refer to narcissism. Narcissism, like I say, is a pain virus. They're inflicted on the inside, they put it on to you. Now, I'm hoping that as you can see this, that you and I can have a greatly different style of managing pain. We can look at some alternatives about pain management because, like I say, they're going to put it onto you. So you have the question of asking, well, what am I going to do now that I'm next in line to receive all of that? Multiple things that we can think of. First, I hope that when you do experience some of your psychological pain, that there will be a mindset in you that says, I know that I have an inner strength that I can tap into, and I'll spend the rest of my time on this earth trying to tap into that strength. I'm going to live into what I know is wisest and best. You can also hold on to the mindset that says there really are many hateful and destructive people and patterns and events and experiences out there, and I have all sorts of really rotten possibilities about how I'm going to respond to it. Holding grudges, like I said about the narcissist, going into the anger, displacing. But why would I do that? I don't want to just continue to pass on to other individuals that which I need to come to terms with inside myself. So you'll see bitterness and aggression and all of that as options, but options that you choose not to follow through with. Instead, you can remind yourself, there are other people in my world who've also experienced pain. And instead of me being a pain virus, perhaps I can actually develop enough of an empathy so that as I draw upon what the pain has done to me, I can see what it does to other individuals, empathy, and I can be the presence of goodness and decency to someone else. I'd like to do that. You can also recognize that pain teaches you what you need to avoid, and sometimes you need to avoid the people who are the perpetuators of pain. But in pain, hopefully you can decide, there are better ways of life that I can gravitate toward, and pain can become the beginning point for new and different patterns of living. I'm hoping you can think that way. And then finally, we can say that pain reminds you that there are better alternatives than perpetuating pain, alternatives like love and kindness and respect and conscientiousness, peace and honor. I want to commit to that. Narcissists never get to that point because they're flailing away and constantly mismanaging pain. They respond to their pain in many harmful ways towards themselves, toward you, but all that does is it just guarantees more of the same. They create more pain as they try to get rid of pain. Go figure. So my mindset as I experience pain, as you experience pain, is that I'm not going to seek out pain because it's not something I enjoy, but when it does show up, my mindset is going to be, I have too much respect for my own dignity and for my own well-being to allow pain to have the final word. And so to that pain, I'm going to say, you do have my attention. I'm listening. I'm learning. But to the pain, I'm also going to say, you'll never own me. Narcissists are owned by their pain. I don't want that to be the case with me, nor do I hope it is going to be the case with you. I hope that videos such as this can give you some good food for thought. Narcissists tend not to be introspective individuals. One of the reasons I have the videos that I do here is I'm hoping I can help you think things through in a much more insightful way. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button. We'll keep more videos coming at you. And hit that like button because that helps our algorithms. If you have a need for therapy, and I know that many times when you are trying to sift through things like this, that would be very helpful. I'm pleased to be sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists. This is an online therapy service, and it's proven to be very popular ever since the pandemic hit. And so if that's a need that you would have, I would strongly encourage you to go in that direction. I've also developed my online courses. And these are like signing up for classes. They're very extensive, and each course has multiple videos with written materials and documents and also guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about finding good connection skills, Free to Be and finding yourself despite the controllers. This is me, having boundaries with those controllers, and there's links below to that. We also have my podcast. We have our website with many articles. We have my books and plenty of resources. So avail yourself to all of that. Pain is something we can't avoid, we can't run away from, but we can do something about it. We don't want to be a pain virus. We catch it from someone else and then we pass it on to the next person. Instead, I'm hoping you can be that person that says, I'm going to be an individual because of my pain who's devoted to empathy and love and respect. That's what I want to do, and I want to be somebody that becomes a healing presence. And when that happens, I'm hoping that you can find your peace and you can perpetuate peace.